Okay, I'm with Mr. John J. Jeckovich, and we're reading his book, Their Mother's Sons. How are you doing today, Mr. Jeckovich?
Yeah, very good. Top.
You're looking chipper in your new clothes.
New clothes. Every time you see me say new clothes. I'm wearing the same damn old clothes for 10 years now.
No.
Pants and this. This is 15 years old.
No, the truth of the matter is you get new clothes every day. You're starting off fresh every day.
Who's this?
You're doing quite well. So how are you feeling today, Mr. Jeckovich?
I'm doing great. Tip top.
You're looking chipper. You're looking chipper.
Yeah.
So we're going to start reading Mr. Jeckovich's book, Their Mother's Sons. We're on page, let's see here. We're on page 506. The chapter is titled The News of Renee's Tragic Death, and chapter 17. And at this time, Mr. Jeckovich is home from the war, and he's working, and he had a couple nice girlfriends there, but nothing serious. He still has not met his wife, in which he eventually was married for 69 years. And so that's coming up in probably another year or so. So before I start reading, Mr. Jeckovich, what was your dog tag number?
42069.
Sharp as a tack, sharp as a tack. And so Mr. Jeckovich was in the United States Army in Company H, the 2nd Battalion, 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. Mr. Jeckovich goes by the theory that yesterday is history, today is a mystery, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. That's what Mr. Jeckovich has lived by. Mr. Jeckovich is knocking on the door of 100 years old. And for example, if you're 40 years old, you have about a 10% chance to make it to 100. Mr. Jeckovich has been beat up, shot, bombed, stabbed, you name it. He's been through everything during World War II in the Battle of Bulge, highly decorated with a Purple Heart and 2 Bronze Stars. Mr. Jeckovich simply takes a licking and he keeps on ticking, knocking on the door of 100. He's got perfect health, and he can read the newspaper without glasses. He give you a handshake, he'll knock you to the floor. Everything's amazing. That's why we named Mr. Jeckovich the Super Soldier.
Oh, God.
Hey, the Super Soldier, let's face it. Young men and beautiful, devoted young men and women during World War II. There were 16,400,000 of them.
What?
During World War II, young men and women in the World War II were 16,400,000 of them. We already lost through age and diseases and the war. 16,300,000 are gone. They're gone. And this story continues. Mr. Jeckovich's story continues. Mr. Jeckovich didn't speak of the war. No one knew he was a decorated World War II combat soldier until 2 years ago. So we have about 100,000 World War II veterans left, with the exception, this is very interesting, there's only approximately 7,000 combat veterans in World War II. Only 7,000 combat veterans. Mr. Jeckovich is one of them, and we're losing them at the rate of 135 a day. So do the math. So if you have any questions now for a true World War II combat veteran, simply text Mr. Jeckovich at area code 407-366-0000. Text Mr. Jeckovich any questions. He'll answer them directly within a day. 407-366-0000. And if you're from the great state of South Carolina, text him at 407-366-0000. 407-366-0000. Did you want to start reading today, Mr. Jeckovich?
What?
Did you want to start reading your book today?
No, go ahead. What? Whose book are you reading? My book?
Yeah, do you want to read it or do you want me to?
No, you do an excellent job.
Oh, thank you very much. I have had good practice. I've been reading your book now for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And hell, I'm only on page What page am I? I'm only on page 506. I have a lot of work to do because Mr. Jekovich's book is approximately 900 pages.
Yeah, 897.
897. Thank you for the correction. So I better read a little bit faster, I guess, because I'm just about halfway through it. I have a lot of reading to do. So, what did it take you? Several years to write this book, Mr. Jeckovich?
6 months. 6 months.
6 months. All right. Did your wife help you read the book?
Huh?
Write the book? Did your wife help you write the book?
She did what?
Did your wife help you write the book?
No.
You did it yourself?
Yep.
Did you have a ghostwriter?
No.
No. I got some text messages. Do you feel up to answering any questions?
All right, go ahead.
Let's see. We talked about longevity several times, so I'm going to skip on that. Trench foot and frostbite. Are you still suffering?
I had frostbite last night.
You're still suffering from
Right
being
foot,
in the
right foot, yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I do, I squeeze the way out, try to stretch it out.
You have to sweat it out every night then. Mr. Jeckovich is actually strong enough with his hands that he can shake them and bring it to the floor. He's very powerful hands. Second question. Mr. Jeckovich, what rank were you in the Army?
What rank?
Yeah.
Staff sergeant.
Okay. Mr. Jeckovich, what is the best and worst memory you have of World War II? What is the best, worst memory of World War II?
The overall World War II?
Yeah, World War II. What's your worst memory and what's your best memory of World War II?
Well, worst thing is the people getting killed.
A lot of your close friends got killed.
19-year-olds, yeah.
Didn't you have Lape get killed right next to you?
Yeah, Lape, yeah, I feel very sorry about Lape.
He got a direct hit.
Huh?
Lape got a direct hit. Lape got a direct hit.
No, he got shrapnel overhead that broke his neck.
Yeah. Interesting fact about Lape, Donald Lape, he passed away during World War II. He was murdered by the Nazis, and he had his, unfortunately, a lot of damage to his head, and there was one part of his eyeglasses was hanging off of one ear, and Mr. Jeckovich removed that in respect and closed his eyes. Another interesting fact about Donald Lape, his brother, we didn't know this until his brother just recently died. Donald Lape's brother, for 25 years, lived like 3 neighborhoods over from Mr. Jeckovich, and we just found that out. It's a shame we found out after his brother's death.
You mean on Orleans Avenue?
No, in Florida.
Oh,
Brother
Florida,
lived two blocks away from you. And it's just a shame that Mr. Jeckovich would have loved to share some stories with Donald Lape's brother. Let's see. When you freed the POWs and the Holocaust camps, what was your instructions not to do?
Don't feed them.
And why was that?
Because the system is degenerated out. They got to be brought back slowly.
I see. No, that was we went over and we talked about this text message was twofold. It said, we know that your worst memory of World War II was witnessing the death of your friends, but do you have any fond or nice memories of World War II?
Well, good memories?
Yeah, anything that you could comment on?
The people that I knew they got through the war successfully. They didn't get killed, wounded, or trapped up or anything.
So it was a great friendship you made, correct? It was a nice friendship. Let's see.
No mail.
Okay, Mr. Jeckovich, what type of weapons did you use during World War II?
Well, actually, I got a rifle, pistol, carbine, and then a .30 caliber machine gun.
And that machine gun, how many people did it take to operate, Mr. Jeckovich?
One gunner, assistant gunner, and ammo bearers. That's the whole squad.
I see.
That's 12 men.
And about how much did this weigh?
The tripod probably weighed 135 pounds. The tank weight probably 70, 80 pounds.
I see. And it was interesting fact, we talked about, a question here is, Mr. Jeckovich, why was that machine gun had to be water cooled?
Why it had to be water cooled?
Yeah.
Because the rapid fire would burn the jacket up.
I see. And would the barrel get red hot?
Oh yeah, you couldn't touch the barrel. That's where the kid got burned out of his hand. They sent him out, sent him
Tell
back
us
home.
what happened to your associate that they got burned. What happened?
Well, he picked it up and he forgot about being heated.
Just another question was, this was the coldest winter in 20 or 30 years when you were fighting in the Battle of Bulge. How did you keep the water to cool the machine gun from freezing?
Antifreeze.
Okay.
Put antifreeze in the tank.
And that did the job.
Yeah.
That did a job. Mr. Jeckovich, you speak in your book about a guy named Post. Who is Post?
Post?
Yeah. Who is Post? Post.
Post is mother's boy. He's not street smart or anything.
But I know there was two Posts, but this Post we're speaking about here says he brought you supplies. You said Post would be in a Jeep, and he would bring you supplies.
Post?
Yeah, Post.
Well, that's the same Post. He was a Jeep driver, but he was 2 or 3 miles behind the light, bringing up supplies. Ammo, food, water, whatever we needed.
Okay, so he was never on the front line fighting.
No, he just transport himself up for the rear and bring it up.
But Post was pretty reliable, as it sounds like in your book.
He was reliable, yeah, but he could only go so far because a lot of times he uses bad judgment.
Why would he use bad judgment?
Because he's not familiar with it. He's not street smart.
Okay, he was book smart.
Yeah.
But he wasn't street smart. Did he make it through the war?
No, he was killed. He was killed.
So
he's right next to me, got his head blown off. Yeah.
So here's another story here. Mr. Jeckovich, you said you had a run-in with General Patton. What happened?
I was what?
You said in your book you had a run-in with General Patton. What happened with you and Patton?
I was running with him?
No, you had a meeting with Patton when you guys were in the barn and Patton caught you.
Van Conley. He said, what the hell you guys do? I'll get you out and go up to the next checkpoint.
How do you know that you were in the barn?
Because Post and camouflage the Jeep were good enough.
I see. And so Patton pulled up and he told everyone to get the hell out of the barn.
Yeah.
I see. Was that the last time you seen Patton?
Yep.
And it was an interesting fact about Patton is that all the young men, they actually nicknamed him, not in a derogatory sense, but they nicknamed a lot of people in your division the Diaper Battalion because all the guys were just teenagers, 17, 18, 19.
Well, yeah.
They were just young boys, and most of them didn't have any experience. And by you fighting in a war for as long as you did, even though you're still a teenager, you had great experience, and you're teaching the young kids that just got out of high school how to survive.
Well, they were new recruits, yeah. They were
how to survive.
Huh?
You're teaching them how to survive.
Well, you get up there and somebody gets shooting, you learn fast.
Okay, you mentioned that in your book, Mr. Jeckovich, a couple weeks ago, that one Nazi soldier had a drop on you, but he didn't kill you. What happened?
The kid my age.
Right.
He was coming down the culvert, and I was going down. He was going the opposite way, and we met in the middle. We looked at each other, we smiled, turned around, and walked back off.
I see, but he had the drop on you, though.
He had the drop on me.
And didn't he turn his back and walk down the culvert?
He did, yeah.
He was knowing damn well that you weren't going to shoot him in the back.
I don't know. Yeah, I knew. He knew that. He knew that. Yeah.
I hope that young German soldier is still alive today. If not, I hope he had.
Well, he was my age.
I hope he had a great life. He didn't want to be there. It didn't sound like. That young German soldier didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be fighting this nonsense. Let's see. Did you ever run into Hitler?
Hitler? No. Hitler was guarded day and night.
An interesting thing about Hitler, he died at 56 of suicide. He came from a very disturbed family. Minutes, please.
14.
Hitler was so paranoid of being assassinated and plots against him, he would be on the guard all the time.
Yeah.
He'd be on the guard all the time of people trying to kill him. In fact, during that time, he was a leader of the Third Reich. He had killed about 6,000 of his own people, thinking they were partaking into a suicide attempt. If they were partaking into a suicide attempt. Or they were partaking, assassination attempt.
Yeah.
And he killed many of SS also. He had killed many SS also. Some were tortured very brutally by Hitler's own men, where he suspected that they were going to kill him. Hitler was a true sociopath with no empathy. One time, his closest friends, he suspected greatly. He suspected everyone was going to kill him, by the way. He suspected greatly that his closest friends, they're all SS, of course. There were 70,000 SS, are really a perverted, sick group of people. But he had one of his closest SS friends, he suspected that he was going to assassinate Hitler. Hitler, as a good guy, he said, I'm going to give you the option. You can take your pistol and blow your brains out, and we won't kill you. And that was Hitler's gift to his closest friends.
Yeah, big deal. Huh?
Yeah, because he thought that they were going to kill him. They thought they were going to kill him. Mr. Jeckovich, during World War II, did you drive a Jeep?
No.
Did you drive a motorcycle?
Off and on.
Did you
Not in regular duty, but off duty I had a motorcycle,
Did you drive a 6x6?
I drove a 6x6 as a recreational.
Did you ever, drove a tank during war?
A tank? No. A tank?
Yeah.
No. I've never been in a tank.
What did you think of tanks? Were they a special breed of people that would operate them?
Well, they were regular army. They're young kids, 19, 20 years old. I got in the infantry, they got in the armored.
Armored, yeah. Yeah, I understand that quite well. When the war was winding down, from the Battle of the Bulge was one of the last ones, weren't all the young men, young American soldiers and the British and all the young soldiers just happy it was winding down?
Yeah, they're worried about getting killed.
At the end.
And I said, I went through all this bullshit now, and I'm going to get killed by the end.
And now you're going to get killed at the end by a sniper.
Yeah.
By a sniper. But it's an interesting fact that the war ended, and at that time you were worried about when the war ended in the European theater.
We're saying the Pacific.
It was going great guns in the Pacific. You were worried about being shipped there.
Yeah.
But did it come closer?
That was Patton's idea, too.
Well, yeah, speaking of Patton, it's an interesting thing. Patton was an unusual man. He was in World War II and a tank commander, and he was in World War I and World War II. And Patton, when the war was winding down in Germany, he was pushing his troops really hard to get this thing over with, and he wanted to get quickly to the Pacific theater because he wanted to take all the credit, and he couldn't wait to get there. But he actually never made it there. Shortly thereafter, he was killed in an accident not related to the Army or the military.
Got killed by a farm truck.
Yes. And then he was only in his 50s, late 50s. He looked 90. He looked very old. He was worn out. But he must have been a true fighter because Patton came from a very wealthy family, and he could have got out of going to World War I and II, but he couldn't get enough of it. He couldn't get enough of these wars. And Ike was the supreme leader there, Eisenhower, and it just so happened that him and Ike were in World War I together. But Patton was really a loaded gun. He was off the charts, and he was doing a lot of things you shouldn't do. But Ike didn't remove him from the war because Ike knew the fact that Patton would get the job done.
Yeah.
Because Patton was always looking for publicity.
Yeah.
He was looking for publicity, and he was always competing against all the other generals.
Yeah, all the top brass.
He was competing against them daily. His whole life was to compete against them, and his whole goal at the end of the Battle of Bulge, he wanted to get face to face with Hitler, but that never happened because Hitler, at the age of 56, he blew his brains out. It would be great if he would have.
Well, he knew what was coming.
Yeah, he knew what was coming because just before he blew his brains out, he heard the Russians all around him.
Yeah.
The Russians all around him. They were all around his bunker.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to go down like Mussolini. They strung him up on a tree and beat the living shit out of him. Mussolini was strung up by a tree by his feet, and they probably would have done the same thing with Hitler.
Yeah.
He didn't want to face the music.
Yeah.
So it was easier to blow his brains out. But it'd be great if Hitler would have killed himself in like 37 or 38, and we wouldn't have lost so many beautiful people, millions of people, and the majority of them were civilians. They didn't know. They had no way to defend themselves.
Yeah.
They had no way to defend themselves. And the horrible things he did to the Jews are just unconscionable. Just unconscionable. It's just amazing, dirty things he did. Minutes, please.
8.
Okay. So, I had a couple notes from you on Patton. It probably only take me about 4 minutes to read it. Want me to read your notes on Patton?
Go ahead.
All right. Let me read my notes on Patton. Would you want to drink, Mr. Jeckovich?
No, I'm good.
You're looking well. Mrs. Patton, you're on your notes. Stretching 800 miles down the length of Germany, from the North Sea to Switzerland, the Rhine is the last great obstacle between the Allies and the German heartland. So the Rhine is what's dividing the Allies to the Nazis.
Yeah.
And let's just say an interesting thing that you knew about, and you talked about many chapters ago.
Crossing that Rhine.
What's that?
Crossing the Rhine.
Yeah. Patton was so aggressive. His commanders, which was Eisenhower's, told him, "You're not prepared. Don't cross the Rhine. You don't have the equipment. You don't have the manpower." Patton didn't listen. He had the Army Civil Engineers made him a temporary bridge. He crossed it. He didn't have the right number of soldiers. He crossed over the Rhine with the...
Yeah, but that's all a disregard he was doing there. I mean, he was not sticking of that, and he's sticking of himself.
Well, blood and guts. What could you tell me about blood and guts?
Who?
Patton, blood and guts.
Blood and guts. Their guts, their blood, his guts.
Okay, exactly. He was not thinking of the men.
Huh?
He was not thinking of the men. He was looking for great publicity. He wanted to cross that Rhine before any other German.
Yeah, well, he was across the Rhine, yeah. Everyone was looking for a shallow spot, and he was over on the other side.
Especially he wanted to beat General Montgomery crossing the Rhine.
Oh, yeah, that's another evil guy.
He always used to fight like hell with Montgomery. So this Patton loved publicity. So he made these makeshift bridges and all kinds of things. And he got across the Rhine, and now he's got about, 4 or 5 military newsmen there. And Patton he didn't do this, but he basically indirectly gave everyone a middle finger salute.
Yeah.
And then he whipped it out and he took a piss right in the Rhine, and so all the photographers of the military red, white, and blue stripes could see it. And he was telling everyone, I made it. So all these other guys saying, how the hell is he over there? How did he make it before all us? We have all the equipment, and he did it with really nothing.
Yeah.
So he immediately went fighting. He wanted to get to Hitler before anyone else did. But by that time, Hitler killed himself.
No, disregarded his men, though.
He disregarded his men, that's correct. He disregarded his men.
Lost a lot of good guys.
Yeah, a lot of people were slaughtered. He didn't, like Eisenhower said, you don't got the manpower, you don't have the weapons, but he went because of his ego.
Yeah.
He had a great big ego. And then when the war was winding down, he wanted to shut that German invasion off real quick because he wanted to get to the Pacific. Because the Pacific was going to go on for many months after this. He wanted to get there. He didn't want to waste any time, but he didn't make it. He didn't make it. And then the Rhine River is the last great obstacle between the Allies and the Germans. This is a very important part. Whoever crosses it first might also soon be the glory of being the first Allied general to reach Berlin. So he wanted to be the first general to reach Berlin at any cost.
Yeah.
He didn't care if everyone got killed as long as he got there himself. It's amazing he didn't get shot during World War II. It's amazing because he took a lot of risks. If Patton's monument achievement at Bastogne never happened, it was rather amusing that perhaps not flattering to the note that General Eisenhower never mentioned the Bastogne offensive. He writes his most recent discussions with Eisenhower. Then referring to the emergency meeting...
He was ahead of Eisenhower.
Yeah.
Patton was, yeah.
And then referring to the emergency meeting in Verdun that turned the tide of the Battle of Bulge. Although this was the first time I ever seen him since the 19th of December, when he seemed much pleased to have me at this critical point. And then they go on. Even more galling, and not just to Patton, but to the American soldiers, is Matt of Montgomery.
Yeah.
You heard about, you've seen Montgomery, right?
Never funerals, yeah.
Yeah. Montgomery had publicity taken the credit for the Allied victory at the Battle of Bulge. Monty insists that it's British forces of the 21st Army Corps, not the American GIs, who stopped the German advances. So they're battling on who took what during the Battle of Bulge.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw what was happening, Montgomery stated at a press conference in which he was outlandish, purple beret, and took steps to ensure that the Germans would never get over the Moose. I carried out certain movements to meet the threatened danger. I employed the whole power of the British group of armies. And then we go on further. What Montgomery neglected to mention was that 3 British divisions were made available for the battle. Of the 650,000 Allied soldiers who fought in the Battle of Bulge, more than 600,000 were Americans. So most of them were all Americans. Minutes?
2 minutes, 30 seconds.
Once again, Bernard Law Montgomery used dishonest spin in an attempt to ensure his place in history. So Montgomery had a huge ego too. And the majority of the men fighting were American soldiers.
Yeah.
Americans had 600,000. Montgomery only had 50,000, and he's boasting how he won it. He won the whole battle.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely amazing. Yet, despite the fact that American soldiers now are serving along the German border, for every British Tommy, Eisenhower has caved into pressure from Churchill and selected Monty to lead the charge across the Rhine. Well, that's too late. He can lead the charge across the Rhine because Patton already crossed it. And he's telling everyone, screw you, I'm here. You're not going to get the credit. So that was an interesting part, and that came from when he had a run-in with Patton, old blood and guts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the interesting part. I'm surprised he didn't have a lot of bodyguards when he came in.
Patton? He did, yeah.
A lot of bodyguards.
Remember that second lieutenant was his bodyguard, got killed.
Yeah.
He worried about that guy after that he died.
Yeah, I remember.
He was a faithful soldier.
How'd that second lieutenant get killed?
Huh?
How'd that second lieutenant get killed?
Got shot.
Oh,
He was tall, Patton up, and Patton was behind him. And he said, well, so I'll recognize the next 500 feet, see what's going on. And that's where they were.
Oh, okay.
They were in the
That's
woods.
what happened to the
They were in the woods, yeah. And they killed him.
Vince?
43 seconds.
A young kid,
Yeah.
22 years old, second lieutenant.
What a devastating war. What a devastating war.
They didn't bury him here. They buried him right over there.
They buried him over there?
Yeah.
Well, Patton got buried in Germany also.
Yeah.
He got buried. He didn't want to come back to the States. He wanted to get buried with his soldiers. Interesting thing that is.
15 seconds. 15. So, there you go.
Wind it down.
Yeah. All right.
Is it over?
No, we got 6 seconds.
6 seconds.
What?
Well, you did great today.
Huh?